Hi, this is Jace Gordon here with a book review. Today's collection I'll be reviewing today. No Comebacks by Fredrick Forsyth. This is from Corgi Books, and this was originally published by Viking in May 1982. This edition is from September 1985. I pulled this collection out with the unfortunate passing of Fredrick Forsyth, who sadly passed away on June 9th at the age of 87. This was an absolute shock when I saw this on Facebook. I was just scrolling through Facebook, and all of a sudden I see a Fredrick Forsyth novel, and then I noticed the person put "Rest in Peace." I thought, what? Then I noticed Then I noticed another post, this time with a picture of the author, and it said "Rest in Peace, Fredrick Forsyth." I thought, oh no. So I go on Wiki and sadly found that he passed away. So to honor him, I decided to pull this out to honor his legacy, as this was a really good writer. He wrote some really good thriller stuff, and I've hardly heard anything bad about his work. And I definitely will be reading more Fredrick Forsyth novels on the channel, definitely to honor this great writer. This is a fun. This is a fun collection of comics. It has some really good, interesting stories. There were a few I didn't like, but overall, I still enjoyed. This was just a lot of fun to read. There's also some dark humor in it as well, and some of the stories I really like the creativity that Fredrick Forsyth displays within these short stories. Some I felt they could have been better, but overall, this was still a good collection. Um, Alright, on to the review, and I'll be reviewing all 8 stories, which are No Comebacks, There Are No Snakes in Ireland, The Emperor, There Are Some Days, Money with Menaces, Use and Evidence, Privilege, Duty, A Careful Man, and Sharp Practice. Spoiler alert, I will be giving away crucial details within all 8 stories. No Comebacks. A very wealthy Englishman, Mark Sanderson, who owns several stocks along with his own business, Hamilton Holding. Mark has it all. A Regent's Park penthouse, Elizabeth Manor in Worcestershire, a chateau in Lewis Valley, a villa at Camp Damptey, a luxury yacht, owns a Lamborghini, Rolls Royce, and several other cars. Anything to please him. If Mark wants it, he gets it, and isn't afraid to break the law as well. However, even with all his wealth, it isn't enough, as he's mostly bored with his life. He once had a wife which nearly ended his career, and hasn't been interested in dating another woman for a long time until he met Angelina Summers at a party, a beautiful, tall, 32-year-old woman with long chestnut hair, smooth body with wide hips and big breasts. Wearing a white dress, Mark is drawn to her as she is listening to some fat guy puffing on a cigar while trying to get an eyeful of her big cleavage. Mark is able to get her away from the overweight man and has a nice conversation as they both like each other. When Angela's friends come to pick her up, Mark asks if she'd like to go to dinner with him. Angela accepts, and it isn't long until they begin seeing each other more. Then Mark tries to give Angela a large bottle of her favorite perfume. She accepts it but warns him that he can't give her any more gifts because she's already married. Mark tries to convince Angela to divorce her husband for him, but she refuses, stating he needs her. Jealous Mark asks what does he have that he doesn't. Andrew replies nothing, as he's a weak man but can't leave him. Mark then asks coldly, to till death do us part. Angela doesn't say anything but nods, then adds they shouldn't see each other anymore. He sends a private car to give her a lift to the airport, all the while feeling angry. For the next several months, Mark tries to move on but can't stop thinking about her, as he refuses to let another man have her. He travels to Spain under a false name, renting a flat, and tracks down Angela's husband in southern Spain in Alicante, close by to Valencia. Major Archibald Clarence Summers, small, narrow-shouldered man with a toothbrush mustache and a weak chin. Stalking Major Archibald in his daily life of watching birds in his fancy house while Angela relaxes on the beach. Mark wants to get the Major out of the picture so he'll be able to marry Angela. Returning to London, he begins doing research on mercenaries, and using his contacts, Mark is searching a hitman to do a contract killing. He then learns a ex-mercenary that visits a local pub, Mr. Hughes, a large man with a scar under his chin. He follows him home and knocks on his door. When Mr. Hughes answers, Mark uses his alias, Michael Johnson, and asks to come in. When Mr. Hughes asks how he found him, Mark reveals the bartender told him. Mr. Hughes allows Mark inside that brings him into his living room, where he turns on the radio, then pulls out a Colt .45 pistol and orders him to strip, believing he's an undercover cop. Nervous, but Mark removes his clothing to reveal he isn't wired. Mr. Hughes allows him to put his clothes back on and asks what he wants. Mark tells him he wants a hit done, but Mr. Hughes doesn't do that anymore. Mark explains he wants a foreigner to do the contract killing, as he can't have any Englishmen tied to him. Mr. Hughes knows a man who might be interested. Mark pays him a large sum of money and agrees to give him a contact with a hitman. A week later, Mr. Hughes calls Mark and tells to visit a cafe in Paris, Rue Maillet, and to have a newspaper while his back facing the wall so he'll easily see him. Mark goes to the cafe on Monday and does what he's told, and isn't long till Calvi appears, a tall, dark-haired Corsican man with a lantern jaw. Mark slides the two photos of his target, Major Archibald, towards Calvi along with a note detailing his target's daily life and wants him taken out. Calvi agrees to the hit, as Mark will pay him a large sum of money, but only half for now and the other half after he completes the mission. Mark doesn't want any witnesses or evidence to trace him back, as Calvi assures him that there will be no comebacks. He will hear back from Calvi a week later at the same place. Using information given to him, Calvi carefully plans out the hit by using a large thick book and slices into the pages with a scalpel to hide his sidearm, a Browning high-powered, along with a custom-made silencer. He then glues the book together so it won't open and places it into a package, then mails it to a hotel in Spain under a false name that catches a flight to his destination. Upon arriving at the hotel, Calvi picks up his package and goes into his hotel room. As he checks it and finds the book intact. Using the scalpel, he opens the book up, takes each part of his pistol and puts it together, then loads it, and attaches the silencer as he tucks it under his jacket, then leaves the hotel. Stealing a car, Calvi travels to the southern side of Spain and finds Major Archibald. He breaks into the house while it's pouring rain and finds his target typing away in his study. When Major Archibald notices an intruder, Calvi shoots him twice in the chest, then a third shot above his forehead. A week later, Mark meets Calvi in the French cafe to collect the other half of his payment and tells Mark the hit was a success, as they won't have to worry about Major Archibald again. When Mark asks if there was any witnesses, Calvi replies there was one. Worried, Mark asks if it was a beautiful woman with chestnut hair. Calvi replies he did see her. Horrified, Calvi lightly smiles and says, "No worries, monsieur, there will be no comebacks. I shot her too. There are no snakes in Ireland." Marky Shaw Ramlee, a Indian medical student in Belfast, is trying to earn extra money and applies for a demolition gig run by a large Irishman, Big Billy Cameron. The work is hard and demanding, but it pays well. Ram goes to the waiting spot and is picked up in a large beat-up truck with a group of large men. Already, Big Billy dislikes Ram and treats him badly and refuses to let others help him. Ram tries pleasing him by working hard and handling much of the demolition himself, but isn't enough. Then one day, Big Billy insults Ram with a racist remark, which Ram stands his ground and threatens Big Billy back that his race is a warrior race, while Billy was crawling on all fours. Big Billy slaps him and insults him further before leaving, as nobody helps him. Enraged, Ram plans to get back at Big Billy. After a night of praying during a thunderstorm, he sees a sign from his goddess to use a snake against his enemy. Ram leaves Belfast and travels to India and goes to the black market and buys a viper, a very dangerous snake. He sneaks it inside by using a large cigar box and suitcase for it. Once he returns to England, he places the snake inside his coffee jar. He plans to slip it inside Big Billy's jacket during lunch break, as he always takes it off, then puts it back on to smoke his pipe. On the day he returns to work, Ram waits for everyone to be away from their jackets and slips the viper inside the pocket. While eating his lunch, Ram waits for Big Billy to get his pipe, but when he does, the snake doesn't do anything and thinks his goddess has failed him. However, he asks one of the workers if Billy is married, which he learns he has a wife and 2 children, and becomes worried that the viper might kill one of them. He prays it doesn't kill anyone but Big Billy. While at home, Big Billy is the man of the house, and nobody argues with him when he wants something done or what he says. During breakfast, he orders his daughter to get his jacket, and she brings it over. They find a snake inside of it. Big Billy knows who put it in his jacket, plans to get back at Ram. However, against his wife's warning on using gloves to place the snake in a jar as it bites his arm, Big Billy ignores the pain and hits off to work. While Ram is working, Big Billy places the snake inside Ram's lunchbox. When it's lunch break, Ram opens his lunchbox and is horrified to find the snake inside with the men laughing at him. He warns them it's dangerous, as Big Billy laughs and tells him, "Don't be foolish, there are no snakes in Ireland." As the men return to work, Big Billy complains of feeling sick and becomes ill. They call an ambulance, but he dies later from poisoning. With no evidence to link Ram to this freak accident, he isn't charged. McQueen, who runs this demolition gig, is now taking over. Ram continues to work, but doesn't go to the funeral of Big Billy, feeling proud of killing that mean man. Now he has enough money for his medical career and decides not to kill the snake, but to release it back into the wild, where she'll lay her eggs. The Emperor. Higgins Murgatroyd and his wife Ida Murgatroyd are on vacation in the Republic of Mauritius, an island in the Indian Ocean. Higgins is a middle-aged man with glasses, has gotten this one-week trip from work as a bank manager. While he earns good money, but he isn't happy with his life. For 20 years, he's been in a loveless relationship with his wife, Ida, who is bossy and complains about everything and has the final word on something, as everyone views Higgins as a smart yet pushover. While enjoying the new sights around him, in the back of the taxi, however, is annoyed of his wife, who hasn't stopped talking since they got off the plane at the airport. Upon arriving, Higgins wants to go swim, but Ida wants him to unpack first, which annoys him as he takes his swimming clothes. While at the nice high-end hotel, he meets an Australian tourist, Harry Foster, greets Higgins as the two strike up a friendly conversation, but after he's done talking with Harry, Ida dislikes him, thinking he's a drunk with a beer bottle in his hand. Higgins expresses an annoyed expression at his wife and goes for a swim. While clearing his mind, he wonders if he has it in him to bump off his wife, but knows he couldn't do it, no matter how much she angers him. After swimming for a while, Higgins goes for a walk on the beach and stares at a young, beautiful woman, enjoying her beauty until Ida catches him and calls him away. While at the bar, glancing at his wife, who brought a supply of historical romance novels, as he desperately wants to get away from her and enjoy some time to himself. Then Foster comes to join him and asks if he'd like to go fishing tomorrow morning. Higgins accepts and sneaks out of the hotel room the following morning. He joins Foster along with two locals and another tourist, Jen Paul from South Africa. They head out for the open ocean, with Foster giving Higgins the rundown on how to catch fish and safety tips. Foster believes they'll catch a few fish, enjoy some cold beers and sandwiches before returning back to the hotel. Higgins is excited by this, and when his rod begins to pull, he grabs it and tries to pull in the fish. However, it's putting up a fight. Foster and the others aid Higgins as he keeps trying to pull the fish in. However, when the pressure needle goes beyond what it can hold, everyone believes that Higgins has caught the Emperor, a powerful blue marlin that has escaped capture twice and has a hook in its mouth, as nobody has been able to catch it. Despite being short, Higgins is a strong man as he battles for hours trying to bring in Emperor, but it puts up a tough fight. The weather begins to warm up, with Higgins feeling his skin getting hot along with blisters and his back aching, but refuses to quit and won't allow anyone to take over, stating it's his fish. By noon, Higgins feels his fingers getting weaker and his vision begins to blur, but then Emperor begins to weaken, allowing Higgins to pull the line, but as the big blue marlin tries fighting back, but it isn't going to let go. Even as the rod is bending to its breaking point, Higgins grips the line and pulls it in till it's right at the boat. Using his remaining strength, Higgins fights to get Emperor on board, but cuts his hand as the hook in its mouth. But he brings it on board and passes out. Higgins is taken to the hospital to have his injuries treated, but has already become a legend on the island when they hear an English tourist has caught the legendary Emperor, with locals wanting to meet him. However, waiting for him at the hospital is his wife Edith, is furious with her husband, demanding him to pack his things and return to London with her. Reaching his breaking point, he yells at her to be quiet. Shocked, he tells her and everyone else that he's done with his job, his boring life, and is going to stay on the island. Ida asks about her. Higgins returns and replies, "To hell with you," with the locals and Foster cheering him. There are some days. Getting off a ferry is truck driver Clark is on his way to make one final delivery before returning to his family in Dublin. However, just as Clark goes to leave, he spots a oil leak on his Volvo. He contacts his company that sends a mechanic to come repair the truck. Unknown to him, Murphy, a Irish thief, part of a hijacking crew, plans to steal Clark's cargo. He believes he's carrying bottles of brandy. After the semi-truck is repaired, Clark hits out as Murphy follows the truck, then pulls over to a phone booth and calls the crew waiting up ahead. Disguised as police officers, they reach the truck and get it to pull over, stating he has a flat tire. As Clark goes to inspect his rig, he is knocked out by Murphy's crew, taking the Volvo semi-truck to an abandoned farm out in the countryside to open the trailer with Clark tied up in the car. However, as they check the cargo, they are shocked to find it's rose fertilizer. Murphy's crew is angry. It isn't brandy he said it would be, and is threatened if he doesn't come up with the money he owes, he'll have his knees broken. He promises his gang he'll get them the money, but for now to cover up the evidence and get rid of the driver, as he'll handle ditching the rig. During that night, Murphy gets into a crash with a tractor, nearly getting killed in the wreck. He tries to flee the scene, but is spotted by police. Murphy tries posing as Clark, stating he didn't see the tractor until it was too late. However, as the police are inspecting the wreckage, they make a shocking discovery in the trailer to find a cache of weapons hidden within the fake fertilizer. Murphy is placed in jail as he realizes he could be sent to prison with his life in danger, fearing the shipment of weapons was from the IRA and doesn't want to get mixed up with them. After thinking it over, he calls the officer over and tells him he would like to make a confession. Money with menaces. Taking a train from Eden Bridge to London to his baking job, Samuel Nutkin, a middle-aged man who's married, keeps in contact with his sister and is very peaceful, friendly man who was nicknamed Squirrel. While riding the train, he drops his glasses case. Trying to reach for it, he finds a magazine called New Circle. Upon opening it, Samuel's cheeks blush the moment he sees it's a dirty adult magazine. Glance around him to ensure nobody can see what he's looking at. Samuel continues looking through the magazine, then finds an ad with a beautiful woman who offers sexual favors for a price. Samuel tucks the magazine into his briefcase and tries to get on with his shift. However, he can't stop thinking about the woman as he's attracted to her. His wife is getting old and they haven't had sex in a long time. Unable to resist the urge, he writes the woman a letter that he's interested under a false name, Henry Jones. 3 days later, Samuel gets a postcard from the woman with a contact number. He calls her as she reveals her name as Sally and would like to meet him. Samuel visits her at an address given to him around lunch and meets a very attractive woman. Stepping inside, he explains to her what he wants to have sex. She giggles and agrees after paying her first. The two go upstairs to the bedroom with Samuel getting himself comfortable by undressing, with Sally locking the door, then gives him the best sex he's ever had for a long time. A week later, Samuel gets the morning mail and brings it into his house. First is a letter from his sister, the other is a bill, but the last envelope has his name but no return address. Upon opening it, a bunch of photos fall out in front of Samuel. He is horrified to see he was filmed during his visit with Sally. He tries calling the number but is told the line is disconnected. He goes to the flat where he met Sally only to find it was rented under a false name. Returning home, his phone is ringing. He answers it and is greeted by a male voice who reads his full name, where he lurks, his remaining family members, and he's married. Shocked, Samuel asks who this is. The caller ignores his question and asks if he got the picture. Samuel replies yes. The caller tells him if he doesn't want the photos being exposed to his family or boss, he must pay over £1,000. Samuel replies he doesn't have the money, as the caller threatens him to get it or he'll be embarrassed for the rest of his life, and hangs up. Thinking about an incident that happened on the tube when a man fell in front of an oncoming train and was killed. When the police examined the body, they found pornographic photos as they were him. He could never bear to face the embarrassment it would cause for him, his wife, his job, and family. While at work, he is tempted to ask his boss for a loan, but fears they'll become suspicious. His phone rings again. As he answers it, it's the caller demanding the £1,000 or else. Okay. Knowing he can't come up with the money in time, Samuel hatches an idea. He lies he'll be able to get the money, as the caller gives him an address where to drop it off. After work, Samuel goes shopping for parts, chemicals, along with fertilizer. He builds a bomb and places it into a money box with a key for the blackmailers to open it. Samuel then goes to the drop-off point and is greeted by a man on a motorcycle. He hands him the package and flees the area. Samuel returns home feeling tired. A few days later, Samuel is visited by Detective Smiley with a case he's working on. The police are investigating a blackmail ring of a group of criminals who have been targeting people for money through a fake sex ad. Samuel confesses he did visit the woman for sex but lies he wasn't blackmailed. Detective Smiley tells him he won't have to worry as the blackmailers were killed in a bomb blast, as they are unsure who killed them, and Samuel isn't being charged with anything since he didn't break the law. During the night, Samuel pulls out a picture from 1943 as he was a bomb engineer for World War II. Use in evidence. Chief Superintendent William J. Hanley pulls up to the old house on Milo Road that is scheduled to be demolished. However, its owner, Herbert James Larkin, refuses to leave and has been living alone for 15 years. He has refused every offer to buy his house, and local kids who have smashed out his windows, Larkin yells at them but refuses to leave. A barrier is placed around the house to keep a large crowd of people away. Hanley and his men, ready to break in the house and remove Larkin as peacefully as possible, a few of the locals yell at the police to leave the old man alone. As they're about to break in, Larkin appears in the bedroom window, then is later removed with a blanket wrapped around him. He is taken to a cafe and given food to eat while Hanley orders the demolition crew to begin tearing down the house to make way for a parking lot. However, during the demolition process, one of the officers discovers a mummified body hidden in a fake wall and believes it's Larkin's wife who went missing back in 1963. Hanley has Larkin brought back to the station as the house is now a crime scene. Hanley tries to get Larkin to talk about the dead body but won't say a word. Unsure if he's afraid or trying to hide the truth, Hanley plans to get to the bottom of this mystery. Digging into Larkin's background, they learn he was born in 1911 in Liverpool with English and Irish descent and joined to fight the Nazis back in 1940. He was captured in North Africa while fighting against Erland Roman's Arnold Corps. Larkin was a POW until the prison camp was liberated in 1944. Upon returning back to England in 1946, he was rewarded King's Dragon Guard Medal and other high-ranking awards for his service in the war. He then married Mrs. Larkin as they remained together until 1963, the same day that JFK was assassinated. While waiting for answers from autopsy, Hanley continues his investigation as he's able to track down 3 people who were the last ones to see Larkin and his wife. A mailman, a next-door neighbor, and a priest. They all revealed that there was tension between Larkin along with an affair going on with his wife, as a friend of Mrs. Larkin reveals she was going out with a younger man at a local bar. Mr. Larkin's life gets more mysterious as very little is known about his life after the war. He's never socialized with any friends, worked at the store for 15 years, then became a night guard to avoid being seen by the residents, and remained homeless after losing his job. Hanley believes that Larkin murdered his wife when she threatened to walk out on him and hid the body inside the house for 15 years to ensure nobody would find it. However, when he goes to check on the autopsy report, he is shocked to learn the woman they found isn't Mrs. Larkin. DNA tests revealed she doesn't match the age of Mrs. Larkin, and her hair is ginger, not dark, and the height doesn't match either. With no evidence to link Larkin to this unnamed woman, they are forced to let him go. With the house fully destroyed as the construction crew begins work on the new parking lot, watching from a distance with Larkin as the first time in his life he smiles. Privilege. Bill Chadwick, a businessman, is woken in his bed by his phone that has been ringing off the hook. He answers it. It's Henry Carpenter, a person he knows locally. Henry asks Bill if he's read the Sunday Carrier, which he replies he hasn't yet. Henry tells him he should get a copy at once, then hangs up. Puzzled by this, Bill gets out of bed, gets dressed while his wife is making breakfast. Reaching the corner store in the freezing cold winter weather, Bill is shocked to find a news article about him, stating he's a fraud and a scammer along with other harsh words about him. Bill brings the newspaper to his wife as she's shocked. Bill contacts his lawyer as he wishes to press charges against the journalist who wrote this false claim against him, Gaylord Brent. To his frustration, his lawyer tells Bill his only chance of charging both the newspaper and the journalist is taking this matter to the highest court of London, but it would cost him more than it's worth. Bill attempts to speak with Brent but is denied access while his public image is being destroyed and losing money. Out of desperation, Bill reads books on law, trying to find a way to outsmart Brent, but finds his options are limited. He then comes up with a plan of revenge. He tracks down Brent to his house and is greeted by his wife. He waits for Brent to show up as he's shocked to find the person he's falsely accused at his house. Brent orders Bill out of his house at once as Bill demands to know why he targeted him in the first place but refuses to answer. Out of anger, Bill punches Brent in the nose, causing him to fall flat off his feet. Bill quickly flees while Brent's wife calls the police. Bill confesses to punching Brent in the face and is placed in jail but later pays bail. After getting a report from both men, Brent is pressing charges against Bill, which he pleads not guilty. During the court hearing, Bill changes his verdict to guilty, but will only confess if the witness is removed from the room. The judge accepts as Brent is asked to step out of the room. Bill reveals he punched Brent with false claims of fraud along with insults made against him in the newspaper and act out in frustration. After hearing his reason, Brent is called in, and despite what he tries, Bill turns the tables on Brent as he yells out in anger, which the judge threatens to remove Brent if he doesn't remain silent. After the court hearing, the judge charges Bill for assault and writes up a check on the spot, clearing him of any wrongdoing. Brent is furious, stating he can't get away with that. Bill turns to him and replies, "Actually, I can. You did it to me." Duty. A unnamed narrator and his wife Bernadette are traveling through the south side of France when his Triumph Mayflower breaks down. They find a small village with a priest offering them help. Their car is towed to a barn converted into a garage. The narrator hopes it isn't anything serious, as if so, they'll have to go to a big town or city to get his car repaired. The village they are staying at looks lifeless, with hardly anyone here. They stay in the only resident that's living there, Madame Priest, a very quiet, large man who at first doesn't speak English. When the narrator and his wife are trying to figure out what's the closest town to them, Priest suddenly speaks English and reveals he's from Dublin. Both the narrator and his wife also reveal they are from Dublin and ask him about his past, but gives them vague answers and doesn't have any fond memories of his home country. However, he reveals he witnessed an execution back in 1916 during the Irish uprising against British rule in Northern Ireland, but won't say who it was he saw who was executed. Both the narrator and his wife are puzzled by this. They head off for bed but don't sleep well. The following morning, their car is waiting for them in the barn. However, as the narrator goes to thank Priest for allowing them to stay, he is horrified to see him charging at him with a battle axe. The narrator runs back to his car and drives out of there. His wife comments that Priest was a monster, but he says, no, just a soldier doing his duty, realizing the man they've been staying with was one of the Irish soldiers who died during the uprising. A careful man. Timothy Hanson, a self-made Englishman with a fancy mansion, high-rise apartment, and his luxurious Rolls-Royce, has it all. However, his life takes a sudden turn when visiting his doctor reveals he is dying of terminal cancer. He is given a few months to live and knows that his cruel and greedy sister, Tarquin Armitage, knowing she'll take everything that he owes, Timothy plans to outsmart his cruel sister. After writing out his will and pays off his chauffeur driver, Timothy gets all his remaining things settled while his health is getting worse along with the pain as the pills are losing the battle against the cancer. Timothy takes out a pistol hidden in his bedroom and kills himself. When his sister, her husband, and their son come to visit his lawyer reading out Timothy's will, it states that he has already sold most of his assets and that if they want his remaining funds, they have to bury him out in sea since he was a naval officer during the war. Annoyed, but Armitage agrees to do it in order to gain inheritance. During the burial at sea in Dover, Armitage and her family push the large and heavy coffin out to sea, but the lawyer then reveals that Timothy refused to state where he hid his remaining funds after selling all of his personal things. Outraged, Armitage hires a private investigator to find where Timothy hid his remaining funds. After months of waiting, the private investigator returns with information on what Timothy did with his remaining funds. After he sold all of his personal belongings and paid off his taxes, Timothy took his remaining funds and transferred it into pure platinum and had it formed into a large cast. Armitage screams in rage, realizing that the coffin was made of platinum, and he made her push it into the sea to ensure that Armitage never gets any of his money. Before passing, Timothy saw a group of kids crossing the street living in a rundown building as he donates his mansion to ensure they have a better place to live. Sharp practice. In 1938, Judge Common is riding a train to Tralee, Kerry country in Ireland. While reading a newspaper, out of the corner of his eye, Common sees a priest coming over and asks if he could use the table he's sitting at. Common allows him to use the table as the priest introduces himself as O'Connor. While thinking about the court cases he's working on, Common notices O'Connor is practicing with cards, and he's unable to focus on the current story and asks O'Connor to play a game of poker, which he accepts. Playing for a small bet, then increasing the wager more when a third person joins, Mr. Kane. However, O'Connor is against raising the stakes unless the money goes to the church. The three men continue to play until they reach Tralee, with O'Connor winning the game. However, Common is later dealing with a court case of O'Connor being accused of cheating and might find himself in trouble with the law. To avoid losing his job, Common dismisses the case from a lack of evidence as nobody wins, but as Common leaves the courthouse, everyone is watching a man get into a limo. It's O'Connor and learns from the locals he isn't a priest, he's a farmer from Wexford, implying that he's a con man. No Comebacks was a good collection of thriller, adventure, and sometimes darkly humored stories. Detailed stories with an interesting cast of characters within each short story, and the pacing is good too. However, I felt some of them, like A Careful Man, Privilege, could have used a little backstory on why the main character were either being targeted by others or reasons for disliking someone. Enjoyed the short moments of action and dark humor within the stories, with some of them having a clever plot twists. While there were only 3 stories I didn't like that much, as they were either not interesting enough or felt they didn't really fit the theme of the collection, but the other 6 I highly enjoyed the most. Overall, I highly recommend No Comebacks as a good collection of thriller and adventure stories that are fun to read. Alright, that's the review today. I hope you enjoyed it. Yeah, this was fun reading this collection again. I really enjoyed the stories from No Comebacks. So, out of the 8 stories, 6 of them I liked. With the other 3 I didn't like. I'll just go over the ones I really liked the most. The very first one, No Comebacks. This is a favorite of mine. I really like the story about basically this rich guy, Mark, that has it all, but as always, these people want more in their lives, and when he meets this beautiful woman who he desperately wants, and then she reveals that he can't have her, well, he's going to try whatever he can to get at her. Unfortunately, his plan backfires badly. It's such a good story. Like, you think this guy is going to actually get away with it, but then at the very end, the hitman he hired screws up, and I'm thinking to myself, Mark, did you not tell the hitman not to kill her? But then he, of course, said, I don't want any witnesses, so that's basically his own fault for saying that, and basically now he basically screwed himself over. And it was such a fun story. I really like that one. No, there are no snakes in Ireland. This was a good story. Basically, you got a Indian medical student, Ram, who's just trying to earn some extra money so he can become like a doctor, and tries earning quick cash at a demolition gig, working with a bunch of like very hardened, tough men, and with their leader who's an absolute self-centered asshole and just a really despicable character, who I really dislike. Big Billy. He's just this like mean man, very racist, and I was rooting for Ram's plan to work. I'm thinking to myself, does this end in the way I don't expect it to? However, I was happy when basically Big Billy gets overconfident of himself, thinking, oh, this is a harmless snake, and when it bites him, he thinks, oh, nothing bad's going to happen to me. He basically gets what he deserves at the very end, with Ram just happy that he got back at this guy. So that was a fun story. The Emperor was another fun story. This is another one I really like, where you got the main character, Higgins, who's just basically is a middle-aged, everyday guy who just wants a change in his life. Like, he's like very bored with his job. He absolutely despises his wife that he's been married to for 20 years, and being and them not getting it on, and he's just bored with his life, and with her nagging on everything, and she always gets the final say. Everything just is causing him to reach his breaking point. And then when he's offered from this new friend he met well at the hotel to go fishing, it's like, yes, I really want to do this. I never fished before, but I don't care. I just want to get away from my wife and just have time to myself. And basically, he experiences an event that he has been desperately wanting so bad, just a change in lifestyle and scenery, and he discovers like a new kind of purpose in his life, which I really like. I kind of felt this story was basically saying that if you're bored with your life, you're not happy with it, change it, make a change, do something to make yourself feel better, like a new change in scenery, a step in a new direction, that sort of thing. And he finally has the courage to tell off his nagging wife at the end of the story after he captures this big blue marlin fish. And this was a really fun story. I could just only imagine the absolute like agonizing pain of trying to hold this rod while fighting this like fish. I could just only imagine how difficult it would be. Like, my hands would probably get sore just trying to hold that rod myself. I probably would be able to hold on as Higgins did. But that was a really fun story. There are some days. That was another fun story, basically about a crew that Murphy plans to hijack this truck, believing that it's got like liquor on it, and finds out that the cargo that it's carrying is not what he expected, and this guy apparently owes debt, and now has to figure out a way how to basically hide the evidence, now find a way to make back the money to at least pay off his crew, and then just gets himself in a whole lot of trouble when it's revealed that the cargo is something more than he expected. This was a really fun story. I felt it was a little too short, but overall it was still good. Money with Menaces. This is another favorite story of mine, and this kind of reminded a bit of Eeyore Leonard's 52 Pickups story, where basically about a guy gets blackmailed, but then he basically outsmarts the people who are blackmailing him to turn on each other. But in this one, again, it's like the Emperor. Samuel is just an everyday guy. He's middle-aged. He has a good-paying job, and it just enjoys his life, despite the fact that him and his wife aren't getting it on anymore because she's too old, and he kind of wants to have sex again. So when he discovers this like magazine, almost by accident, he's like, "Ooh, I discovered something really juicy here," and then when he sees this beautiful woman in the magazine, he can't stop thinking about her, and he decides that he desperately just wants to have sex again, just to have like a good time. He writes this woman a letter. She sends him a postcard for a number to call, and he thinks this is going to be fun. He pays her like a small fee, and he thinks, okay, that's that, right? Nope. His whole world turns upside down when he is targeted by a group of blackmailers who want to extort money from him, and if he doesn't pay them, they're threatening to expose these like dirty pictures to his wife, his boss, and like his sister, and this would just like destroy him. And he's unable to come up with the money, which is over £1,000. I'm not sure what that would translate to in dollars, but I assume £1,000 is a lot of money. If one of my viewers from England could tell me how much that exactly is in dollars, then I would kind of have a better understanding of that. But anyway, so not sure what to do. Samuel decides to turn the tables on the blackmailers by basically killing them by making a bomb, and then after he does this, he doesn't hear from them. And then when a detective is interviewing him, he reveals that the blackmailers were killed in a bomb blast from him. And despite the fact that he's cheated on his wife, has got involved with prostitution, he's not being charged anything since he didn't break any laws. As Smythe says, it's not my business to get involved in your affairs. That's your business, not mine. And he is just relieved that he's got himself out of this mess. And at the very end of the story, where he's holding a picture back when he was an engineer, bomb engineer during the war, he just grins to himself, knowing that he outsmarted these people that were trying to extort him for money. I really love that, and just the twist at the end. Like, some people are more dangerous than you think they are. So that was another favorite. Houston Evans. This one was. I didn't like this one, about a guy that basically refuses to come out of this house. He's been living for 15 years, and there's mystery about where his wife went, And then when he's, of course, when he's removed from the house and they begin demolishing it, they find this body, and then the police chief thinks that he murdered his wife, and it kind of turns into like a kind of murder mystery. But then at the very end, it's revealed that no, this woman isn't his wife. It's the woman of the other owner of the house. So this story had a lot of unanswered questions, and I was like, this was okay, but I didn't really care for it. Privilege was another one I didn't like. This is the one thing I felt this story could have used some explanation, as the plot goes, that basically this like businessman Bill finds himself targeted by a journalist who's like exposed him of like corruption and fraud, and there's no proof of this, and this damages his reputation, and he's trying to figure out how to how to get back at this journalist for like destroying his life. And I was like, why is he doing this? Like, what's the reason for it? The story never reveals why Brent targeted Bill, and I wish Fredrick Forsyth went into some explanation on Brent's reason for why he targeted him. It's kind of a mystery why he did it, and I think to myself, what does Brent gain out of this? As I was trying to think, wouldn't the newspaper give him like hell for like targeting up, like exposing a person with no evidence? Like, that was the only thing I didn't get that with the story, and I just wish Fredrick Forsyth went into more background of why Brent targeted Bill, for like a reason for it. It was like, did someone pay him did someone pay Brent to do this, or was he trying to gain something from Bill? It's never really explained. I just didn't like it. I'm not really a fan of like these court drama stories. Duty was a interesting story. Basically, you got a unnamed narrator and his wife. They are on vacation in the south side of France, where the car breaks down, and they're staying in this village that appears like lifeless. And the place they're staying at is this mysterious guy who doesn't reveal much, and then it's until later on when he reveals that he's from Dublin, where they are from. But he only brings up dates that only go up to like 1960, and this makes the couple kind of like puzzled and unsure. Like, wait a minute, how is this guy from like the like 1916 or like the early 1900s, and yet he hasn't aged? And then the main character makes a shocking discovery that this man is actually a ghost they've been visiting, and it's revealed that he was like an executed soldier. What's interesting is that as I was reading this story, I know there was like a note written under it. Like some of these older novels, I noticed that sometimes the author adds these little commentaries to the books, or the editor does this to explain a scene or something. This is the only part in the story where Fredrick Forsyth has a little backstory on this Duty story, and he basically explains that he decided to change the narrative up by having it in first person then like third person, and he says that apparently a friend of his told him this incident happened where him and his wife were out vacation in southern France, and they encountered a ghost, and apparently that's where he got the inspiration from the story. I thought, ooh, that's interesting. I kind of wish there was a little more detail on that event on Wick. Okay, the next story, A Careful Man. I really like this one. Basically, it's about this self-made man who has it all, but then his life takes a sudden turn when his doctor reveals he's dying of terminal cancer, and he doesn't have long to live. So Timothy realizes that his greedy sister Armitage is just going to take everything that he owns and show a little like care for him. So he decides to outsmart her in a very mean way by selling off all his like property and stuff, and then he comes up with a will that his lawyer agrees to do, and then he shoots himself when the pain is just too unbearable. And when his sister shows up, she just wants like whatever he's got, and she's just like a really cold, heartless woman in this story. But then the lawyer reveals that if you want his funds, you have to do what he wants, which is basically to push his coffin out in a barrel and sea. And she's annoyed that she has to do this in order to get his inheritance, but she accepts it. And then after she does this, she's then told Timothy sold all hid all his remaining funds, and it won't reveal where it is. So she is furious, hires a private investigator to find where it's at, and then after waiting months for where all this money is, she then learns that Timothy had all his remaining funds transferred to pure platinum and had it formed had it molded into a coffin case and she pushed it into the sea, and she just screams in anger. And this scene just had me laugh. I thought, what an absolute good way to get back at some greedy person. And I wish I put in my thing. Even after death, Timothy still gets the last laugh at his sister. Um, and the ending also reveals that, unlike Armitage, Timothy does have a kind, caring heart, and he donates his mansion to a group of orphanage, children that live in this terrible orphanage. So he gives them a better place to stay. So he has a good heart. So this was a really good story. And then the last one, Sharp Practice. I didn't really like this one. Starts off with basically a judge is on a train, and then a priest comes to join him, and then he's practicing cards, and then later on they're playing poker, and then the third man joins them, and it's just like a typical poker game on a train. And then I was like, okay, what's going to happen next? Then the main character finds himself in a court case where Kane is suing the priest for cheating in a poker game, and this could get him in trouble as well, as people think that he's the one that cheated in the poker game. So the judge, to basically save his career, he basically dismisses the case because of a lack of evidence, so nobody wins. But then learns that the person who played the poker game was actually a con man. I was like, that's it, really? This is I just didn't like the story. I just felt it could have been something more to it, or just something different. But yeah, so out of the 6 stories, the ones I liked were No Comebacks, There Are No Stakes in Ireland, The Emperor, There Are Some Days, Money with the Menace, and A Careful Man. As I said, some of the other ones were were okay and stuff. I kind of wish there was some more action thriller stories in this collection, as I felt some of the later ones were kind of court dramas and just drama stories. I just wish I had more of a kind of action thriller, or even more adventure stuff would have been nice. But overall, it's a good read. And during my read of these stories, some of them are really good. I thought some of these short stories would actually make good movies. Of course, they would have to add on to them to expand upon them. But I'm really surprised that nobody has done any of these short stories and made them into films. Most of Fredrick Forsyth novels have been made into films, with a few that haven't been adapted yet. But a lot of these short stories would make excellent films. If I was to pick what short stories I like to see made into films, I would pick No Comebacks, The Emperor, Careful Man, No Snakes in Ireland, Money with Menaces, and There Are Some Days. A couple of the stories would actually make interesting films if someone was to do adaptation of them. It would be really interesting to see them. It would be interesting to see these short stories adapted to film. Alright, that's it for the review today. Hope you enjoy it, and rest in peace, Fredrick Forsyth. You will always be remembered for your great novels that you've written, and as I said, I would definitely be reading more of his novels on the channel to honor this great author and to keep his legacy alive, and I hope others will go out and buy his books to read them. Alright, that's it for the review today. Hope you enjoyed it, and please don't forget to like this video and subscribe to Auctorial Library, the YouTube channel where I post book reviews and book hauls and artificial content. Until then, I'll catch you later.